Hello everyone, welcome to Bandana Reads. Today we are going to find out who is the a-hole. Let's get started. Am I the a-hole for expecting my wife to prioritize me for Father's Day instead of going to a funeral? My wife and I have two children, a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old. Our 6-year-old is on the autism spectrum. It goes without saying that this is a very stressful position, and neither of us get very much of a break from this. My wife is a SOM and I have a full-time job. As happy as our children make us, I don't think it's selfish for us to both desire breaks. We get them every here and there, but we made a deal to have 2 guaranteed breaks in a year. Our birthdays and Mother's Father's Day. On those days, the one parent takes on the brunt of the burden, so the other can get a day to relax. Since our youngest was about 2 we practiced this. I have never failed to give my wife the day off she deserves. I'll schedule her a spa day or something she really wants to do and get her out of the house so she can relax while I'm on daddy duty. Then when she gets back our kids give her cards and gifts and we get a meal from her favorite place after they go to bed. My wife has been less consistent and doesn't really do as much as I do for her. The last year she hasn't really done anything. I typically try not to hold it against her as it is undoubtedly hard, but it does feel kind of unfair. This Father's Day, I planned something for myself as she made no indication of doing something for me. I warned her a week in advance and she said it was okay. This was until about 3 days ago. My wife's old boss's dad passed away. She was invited to the funeral by the boss and she chose to attend the funeral which was about 2 hours away. As a result I had to cancel all of my plans and take care of the kids. She was supposed to be home at around 5 in the evening but didn't arrive until around 10. The kids were already asleep and my wife neglected to help them get even Father's Day cards for me. We got into a huge argument when she got back. I told her that I felt like she really dropped the ball on this and didn't give me a break like I usually do for her. She told me that she's home with the kids all day just about every day and I only have to help out after work, and as far as she's concerned, I regularly get a break and she doesn't. I told her working isn't a break and that I really was looking forward to today. She said that someone died and I was being completely selfish to make it about me. I said that it was someone she didn't know who was the parent of someone she hasn't seen in over a year, and I didn't think I was being selfish in asking her to prioritize my needs just as a gesture like I do hers. She's been pissed at me since and we're not talking. Am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for leaving my surprise wedding because I felt blindsided last week? I, 30F, was invited to a supposedly fancy party by my longtime boyfriend, Mark, 32M. We had been dating for 5 years, and while we had discussed marriage before, there were no immediate plans for a wedding. Excited about the event, I dressed up in my best attire and arrived at the designated venue. As I entered the grand hall, I was completely taken aback to see all of our family, friends, and acquaintances gathered, eagerly waiting. It turns out, Mark had orchestrated an elaborate surprise wedding for us without my knowledge. Everyone erupted into applause as I stood there, shocked and overwhelmed. I just felt a mix of emotions. While I love Mark and had dreamed of our future together, the idea of getting married without any prior discussion or consent felt like a breach of trust. So, I pulled Mark aside and tried to express my concerns and reservations about the surprise wedding. I explained that I wanted a say in the planning process, to be part of the decision-making, and to have the chance to prepare mentally and emotionally for such a significant milestone in our lives. However, Mark dismissed my concerns, saying that he thought it would be a romantic gesture and that I would be thrilled. In that moment, I faced a difficult choice: go along with the surprise wedding, putting on a smile despite feeling unsettled, or stand up for my autonomy and voice my true feelings. I ultimately made the decision not to proceed with the surprise wedding, much to the disappointment and confusion of our guests. Now, I find myself at odds with Mark, our families, and even some of our friends who believe I overreacted and spoiled a beautiful moment. However, I firmly believe that a marriage should be a joint decision, with open communication and shared expectations. Everyone's excuse for this is I have always talked about marrying Mark. And again, the problem isn't marrying him, the problem is not having him in my wedding. Mark thought I'd appreciate it because I always spoke about how stressful planning a wedding must be. Yes, I think it's stressful, it is, but I'd still like planning one. After this whole ordeal, everyone asked if Mark and I were ending things, in which I replied no. I emphasized towards them and Mark I still wanted to marry him, and most feel like this is making me more of an asshole since I just wasted a perfectly fine wedding. So am I the a-hole for refusing to attend my own surprise wedding, even though it was intended as a romantic gesture? Am I the a-hole for visiting my late son's grave on his and his living twin's birthday? So, to start, my son was born with a birth defect and only lived 3 hours. He had a name, 2 parents who loved him, and now he has a small grave in our local cemetery, buried next to the rest of my family. His twin sister, who was born completely healthy, turned 5 last week. Every year on their birthday, I take time to visit my son's grave. My wife used to come with me, but last year, she didn't. I respected her decision but went anyway. This past week, after I got back from my son's grave, my wife confronted me. She told me she was tired of me living in the past. She said a few different things to that effect, but the one that sticks with me most is he's dead, hell he was barely even alive. I'm sick of you disappearing for hours on my daughter's birthday night. I'm starting to think you love him more than her or me. For clarity, I always go after my daughter goes to bed. I was horrified. I had no idea she feels that way. Then, I was furious with her for that barely alive comment. I'm ashamed to admit that I shouted at her, and she's now staying with her parents. I have apologized for my outburst via text, but she has not responded. Her unwillingness to communicate with me makes me think I might have done something unforgivable. Am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for heating my son's lunch in my brother's microwave? My son has sensory issues, likely will be diagnosed with autism in a few weeks, as well as chronic GERD. Whenever we go anywhere to eat I pack food for him. My brother is marrying Tisha. Tisha grew up in a fundamentalist religion. She's not nearly as devout as when she grew up. One of the things she's held onto is very specific dietary laws. Which is fine, but the way she enforces them seems very legalistic and way beyond the point of any actual rules. Anyway, she had my brother change his whole kitchen to fit these dietary rules. He spent a fortune of money and now has 2 dishwashers. The problem is that now my brother won't let any food that Tisha doesn't pre-approve into the house. She either has to cook everything or they have to drive an hour to get food at restaurants she's okay with. This has caused some issues in our family. My brother, since before he met Tisha, has always hosted family events at his place due to his central location and that he has the largest house by far. But now we have to eat what Tisha cooks or all eat outside on plasticware, bad for the environment and not feasible with our summers. Today we did Father's Day at my brother's house. We had pizza, which is my dad's favorite, but my son can't eat, so I brought a lunch for him. My brother has a microwave in his basement and some old bowls I'm supposed to use. But today it was busted. So I just went and heated up his food in the kitchen. Tisha walked in while I was doing it and lost her mind. Started freaking out about what was in my son's lunch, what plates did I use, what did it touch, etc. Just borderline hysterical. Soon everyone was in the kitchen, my son was crying, my husband and brother were going at each other, it was just chaotic. Over some Dino nuggets. My dad's day was ruined. So we eventually left. And then my brother texts me saying how disrespectful I am. My husband is pissed. And now my mom wants me to apologize for putting my son's food in his uncle's microwave. I have no plans on doing any such thing and think I and my son should be apologized to. Am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for telling my pregnant sister-in-law to stop yelling at my brother for making her a whale? My sister-in-law is pregnant with their first child, and I get pregnancy is hard, but for the last few weeks she's been lashing out at my brother non-stop, and you can see he looks visibly stressed out now. She's done it in front of our family and her family, but nobody ever defends my brother or says anything to her because they're all excited about the baby, so they're treating her like a queen who can do no wrong. Now, I love my sister-in-law, and we're like sisters since we grew up together, which is why I felt comfortable telling her to stop. I spoke up after she started yelling at my brother for making her into a whale. He kept apologizing to her, and everybody was coddling her and telling her how beautiful she was and how she didn't look big at all. When we were alone I told her how she was behaving unfairly and treating my brother badly and stressing him out. I thought she took it well since she said she knew, but apparently not since she started crying to my brother. Everybody is treating me like I'm the devil now for making her cry. My brother told me to stay out of his marriage and to mind my own business because I didn't understand what she's going through, and he said I was causing her stress. I tried to explain that I wasn't trying to hurt her, but I felt like she was being mean, but it hasn't helped the situation. Am I the a-hole? Thank you for watching, everyone. Be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell to never miss a video, and like the video if you enjoyed it. Leave a comment telling me who really was the a-hole.